Okay, so you notice how the valve is moving very quickly and there's really no control over that. It just goes out, hits the thing, and comes back. What we're going to do now is add a flow control to the lines where we can control the speed, and we're going to be able to control the extend and the retract speed separately. So that's the third circuit in the assignment in Virtual Lab 2. So it's going to be, again, similar to this. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing. And I'm going to move down into this area below and paste it down here. I'll move it out of the way of the other one. I think I'm going to need even a little more room than that, so I'm going to go down a little further. What we're going to do is add these flow control valves into the lines that connect to the cylinder. So I'm going to delete the two lines that connect the valve to the cylinder, make a little more space, and we're going to go over here to flow valves and hit the arrow to expand it, and we're going to use restrictors with non-return valve. So the one we're going to pick is the adjustable restrictor, and we just bring it up here. So this is a symbol for a restrictor that is adjustable, that you can tighten down to let less air through or open it up to let more air through. Now I'm going to flip this around so it's more consistent with the way the HAS 200 diagrams are. Let me just rotate it 180. And it looks like I need a little more room. Actually, no, I'm good. Okay, so I already connected that there. And then I need another one for the other side. So just copy, paste. And this one I have to mirror. I actually don't have to, but I'm just going to I'm going to do it just so it, again, I'm trying to make this look a lot like the schematics on the HAS 200, because that's what we're using with the in the classroom. So okay, so now let's take a look at how that's going to affect the performance of this. All right, so let's run the simulation and see what it does. So I hit the button, it extends. Notice it's going slowly. Now, so you can see here, I had moved the cylinder up to make room for the throttle valves, and so I forgot to move this one up to so that that touches the cam roller. So let's go back and do that. So this has to go up to there, and I'll just move this up. So that should be in the right position. Let's try it again. I hit the extend button, it extends, and then automatically retracts. Now you notice how slowly the valve is moving. Well, if I click on one of these throttle valves, let's do this one first. Notice how, so it says settings, internal diameter. That's the setting for how open or closed the valve is. Notice it's way down, almost near zero. Now if I open this up all the way, close this and run it, now see how it goes very quickly. Now notice another thing, that adjustment only affected one of the motions, the extend motion. Notice how the extend speed is still very fast, but the retract speed is very slow. The reason is when the cylinder is extending, it has to flow through this valve in this direction, and then through this one in this direction. So going to this valve, even if this is restricted, it'll flow around it through this check valve, because it's going to allow air to go freely this way. And this is the restricted area. So that when it's extending, air comes freely through here, and we've opened up this valve, so it's a very air flows freely through here and is restricted to go. Air flows freely through this check valve, and then it's forced to go through the. So notice how the extend speed is still So notice how we've sped up the extend speed, but it's still going slowly in the reverse direction. When it's extending, it's flowing through this restrictor, which we've just opened up. Like I just opened it up to whatever, almost all the way up. When it's retracting, it has to flow through this restrictor. It can't flow through this check valve. So that's still closed down. So I can click on that and change that speed as well. So now it's going very freely. Now I'm going to do something else to make this work a little bit better for what we've got set up, which is to change the maximum opening for these two valves. So I'm going to double click the restrictor valve, throttle valve I mean, and it defaults at a maximum diameter of 20. I'm going to reduce that to 5 so it'll give us a better range of speeds. Whoops, I got to first, this number has to be lower than 5. I'm going to have to put a 2 in there. So this top number is the actual diameter and the bottom number is the maximum that we'll go to. And I'll do that on the other one as well. So actually first got to make this something smaller like 2, and then I can make this 5. Okay, so let's run it again. So that's my extend and retract. Now, so if I want to change the extend speed, I adjust this one, maybe slow it down a bit. So slow extend, kind of a medium retract. I can make the retract really fast, do a slow extend and a fast retract. So you can see how you have now speed control over the extend and retract speeds. Okay, the last part of Virtual Lab 2 is going to again be a similar circuit. So once again, I'm going to just copy this whole thing. Right click, copy, and slide over here to the right. Just click somewhere in there and do a paste. So for this last part, we're going to replace the extend push button with another cam roller valve so that when the cylinder retracts, it triggers a second valve that then causes it to extend. So it's just going to keep going back and forth. And instead of an extend push button, we're going to replace that with a switch, or actually a valve that's a locking valve that when you click it, it locks on, and you click it again, it locks off. So, so let me just get rid of the extend push button. We don't need that at this point. I'll just move this over here because we're going to need that later. Just get rid of these lines for now. Oops. Okay, so we're going to have to move some things over to make room for that second cam roller valve. So I'm just going to take the valve and the exhaust. Come on, select the whole thing there. No. I guess I have to click it and then hold shift. There we go. Let's move this over first. And then I'm just going to move, tell you what, I'll move this thing and then make the cylinder so it lines up. And that should be enough room. Okay, so I need to copy this. Just do a copy. And I'm going to position it so when it's in the retracted position, it hits the roller. And looks like I need to move this over a little bit. And so now the thing that's going to make this 5.2 valve go over to the other position is now this cam roller valve. So I'm going to just bring this over here. Okay, now we just have to, we're also going to need an exhaust here. So copy that on the other valve. And then for these ports, they're just going to connect to the main pressure source. So let's get that set up. So let me just rotate this. And we're going to use a 3-2 valve, but it's going to be a different kind of valve. It's going to be, let's just see, it's going to be 3-2-way normally closed. So click on that, and it's going to be this one down here that has a little thing representing a lever type valve. Just rotate it, and it looks like it's in the right position. So let's see, I'll just put it down here a little ways. And the main pressure source is going to go right in here. And then the exhaust has to go here. And just move this all down a little bit. And then we just have to hook up pressure to this. That's the 5-2 valve. And then these two ports. So let's do this one. Now, when you want to connect a line to a line, if I just click, it doesn't connect. So just need to double click and it'll create a connection point. Same thing over here. Okay, so now we have the main air is going to feed all 3 valves. And so once the pressure is there, it should start doing its thing. So let's see if it works. Go to normal simulation. And we just have to click this and it'll turn on. Now, so I just realized now I moved this over too far. You can see it's not quite reaching. So it looks like I have to go back a couple of spaces. So let's stop and move this back 1, 2. Might as well tuck this exhaust in there too. And let's see if that does it. Click the valve, there we go. So it's extending. As soon as it reaches extend, it automatically retracts. And then we can play with the speeds like we did before. We can, that's the retract speed. And we can speed up the extend speed. Okay, that's reciprocating motion. The last thing I'm going to do is to give this valve a name like we did before. So it again comes up with this directional valve generic name. So I'm going to call it the main control. Check it off and then just move the label down closer to the switch. Okay, that's the end of Virtual Lab 2.